Hey guys, it's quote unquote your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great response video. Just ignore the sound of the washing machine in the background. Remember that I do make these videos in the basement. So we are back in the office, but literally the office. That's Uncle C's office. But this isn't Casey this time. It's his brother Cole. So, I'd ask you guys in the comments to take it easy on Cole. He's kind of an acquired taste. Like I took a pretty intense dislike to him the first time I saw him, but I quickly warmed up to him because he's really not a bad guy. He's not, I mean, he comes off like, he's one of those people who's like very quiet, and I tend to react very negatively to those people at first. But he's not a bad guy at all. He seems like he's actually a pretty good dude, unlike Casey. So I think the way it is in the Xander family is that the mom is totally normal. We've seen the youngest daughter a lot, Kerrigan. She seems totally normal. Cole is that's who this one is odd, but but a good guy. And then Casey's a psychopath, and my guess is the other sister is a psychopath. And I think the other sister is the black haired girl who's in some of his ads. Um, So anyway, yeah, so he's been like Casey's been on a couple videos with Cole now. Apparently Cole is the guy who, like, when you join MBT or call in to join MBT, Cole, not Casey, is the one who sells you on the program. He talks about this in an earlier video. Um, so I mean, I don't know, but he mentions a couple things like, he's got a 50% close rate, stuff like that. And I'm sure he's making a lot of money doing it. But so I thought this would be. I mean, like I said, I don't have anything against Cole or anything like that. But since this is a video where he talks about sales, I do think it's interesting to it is a chance to talk about to talk more about sales, what he thinks, what he thinks about sales, what I think about what he thinks about sales, stuff like that, and how different types of sales are different and need different approaches. So let's get into it.
Cole Xander here again. So I was out of town.
Oh, by the way, you notice that Cole is able to just begin a video like a normal person, just say, "Hi, it's Cole Xander," and then start. He doesn't need that ridiculous backhand slap thing, which I'm sorry, I think I've pointed this out before. Have any of you guys ever tried to do that? Like, it's painful. It hurts. There's a reason that nobody else does it because it's really stupid. You're not supposed to slap with the back of your hand. But I digress.
As I'm sure some of you saw on Casey's YouTube account. We were out of town. We were in Vegas for a little while, so
Oh,
that's what.
so I want to stop again. So, outcome independence, why masculine men make money. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he just recorded the video and then Casey did it because he's gaming the algorithm, because the video seems like it's mainly just focused on the outcome independence part, and then I don't really see it. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I've watched a couple times, so maybe I'm just forgetting something. I don't see it as having much to do with like the masculine men make money, because that's just obviously not true. I mean, I think most masculine men make very little money, and a lot of people who make a lot of money aren't very masculine. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say, for those of you who might have noticed, my latest like political video has been deleted. That's because those bastards at Vox Media copy struck my video because I stupidly put the words on the screen instead of just read it off my phone, which is what I should have done. Okay, back to the video.
Why I haven't made a video in the last like 10 days or so. Currently, my plan for my upload schedule, it's not set in stone, but it's probably going to be twice a week, every Tuesday and Wednesday, and then either Tuesday or Wednesday, and then once on Saturday. But like I said, that's not totally set in stone yet.
Well, good, because it ended up not happening. He made one video after this and then hasn't since then. I think it's been over 2 weeks at this point.
Um, so the topic for this video is outcome independence. in regards to sales. So on my last video I posted, I had recently said that I didn't really know why I was such a successful closer. You know, I spoke on how I am a 50% closer, or I have a 50% closing rate plus. And I spoke on how I didn't really know why.
I do. I know why. There's multiple things going on. One, you are speaking to people who are already primed to buy. And you could say, well, Ballface 80/20, isn't that true about any type of inbound sales? No. Like almost all the inbound sales people that come to me, you know, I do insurance sales, either aren't qualified, like I can't insure them because their credit sucks or because they've had like too many accidents or whatever, or they're or they want some insurance policy that we something that we can't even insure, or they well, that I would say that's kind of the big thing. They either aren't qualified at all, or they're just shopping around. You know, they're looking. They're not really looking to buy. They're looking to see what's out there. And I don't care what anybody says. There's nothing you can. I mean, if they're not, if you don't have a program for them that's affordable, you're not going to get that sale. I don't care how good at sales you are. At least not with any type of consistency. Maybe you get 1 out of 100 of those or something. And then the as for the people who are just shopping around, like, yeah, sometimes if you know, you have to go by the conversation. Sometimes you can get those, but if they're really like to have their mindset that they just want to look, you know, and see the quotes that are out there, then that's what they're going to do. So Cole here is doing the exact opposite set of sales. And I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I mean, a 50% close rate is great in whatever you do. But the people who have gotten Casey's ads and then clicked on, these are people who want to do this. They want to do this thing with Casey. They want to be one-on-one coached with Casey. They're ready to go with that. The thing that they haven't been sold on is the price. Casey never mentions the price in his video. I have a feeling it's very expensive, and that what you get on, it's huge sticker shock. I know because I haven't been through any like masculinity camps or stuff like that, but I've been through it twice with different business investments I made, like different business trainings. It's actually how I got into sales. And that's the thing is like, yeah, I was interested. I wanted to do it. The only thing, I mean, I was sold on, I mean, I was excited. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. What I wasn't sold on was the price, which I got completely blindsided by. So then you have people who are all ready to go. You blindside them with the price, and then you do close. And that takes real skill. It's not a kind of sales that I've ever done. So, not that I've ever had any success with. But these are people, you're getting people, though, still who are primed to buy. Second, these are people who are overwhelmingly going to be very suggestible people. You know, there are people who saw Casey Zander videos and thought, wow, that looks good. So, I mean, these are people who are going to be naive. They're going to be ultra suggestible, like I said, and they're generally, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there were qualifying questions to make sure that they had the financial means to pay for this stuff. So I think that's a really important part of it. And where they're getting on this call, you know, with the hope at least to buy. On top of that, and they're probably being sold some bullshit like, am I even qualified for this program? And then they've like said like, well, we got to make sure that you're qualified. So then there's stuff like that. So these are people who are very suggestible. So that's another very important thing of why your close rate's so high. But then the other stuff is, I mean, he says that he's a good salesman, and I believe it, because no, he's not the most charismatic guy, but you don't need charisma to be good at sales. You can tell that he's I mean, he's very stoic. Like I don't know if he's like stoic in the literal sense, the way that Casey still hasn't figured out what it means. But he's very. I mean, maybe stoic isn't even the right word. It's more like stolid, kind of like emotionless and unflappable. Like those kind of people, I've noticed they do well in sales. I don't really totally get it, but they do well. They just kind of like nothing phases them, and they just kind of just keep go forward, go forward, go forward. You know, the charisma and sweet talking is not what sales is about. They don't get flustered and stuff, like thrown off their game. Like me, I will get really flustered, even when somebody's not even like being hard. I mean, you guys can tell me like you can see that like I, start talking too fast and tripping over my words when I'm talking to you guys on here. So imagine it in like a real conversation. So I think that the fact that kind of like slow, deliberate pace, and then he's just kind of got the deep voice, which just inspires respect. And he's also probably on calls with people where they can see his face, and just having that, very masculine face on and demeanor is that alone is going to project confidence, and I mean create confidence in you, in the other person. um so those are all things. Those are all things. And then he's going to say that the big thing is what sets him. Well, let's let him speak for himself.
And somebody in the comments had posted that it's probably because you care so much. Like you care so much about the person that you're speaking with. And I do agree with that to an extent. No, I agree with that fully. But
Yeah, and I think you see like right here that there's like just how different Cole and Casey are. And like again, like Casey's a psychopath. He's a psychopath. And the Cole, you can see that from there. He really is a good guy. He's just been given bad advice by his brother. Um and if he stays in sales, I think he will be. I think he's gonna be really successful and hopefully selling something else. Um but yeah, we'll go back to it now.
the other piece of that puzzle is that I'm also independent of outcome. So, to kind of elaborate on this, like every time I go into a call, every time I hop on a sales call, would you like to know what's running through my brain? Absolutely nothing. There's nothing going on in my head. I literally have like a little pre-call ritual in a sense, if you'd like to call it that. I have my coffee, which I've been trying to cut out coffee. I don't think it's that great for you, but that's a different story altogether. But essentially, I have my coffee and I play guitar for about 5-10 minutes, and I do this before every call that I get on. Why? Because it relaxes me. It just lets me zone in, and there's no real worries at that point. So when I hop
Well, I mean, that's good stuff, man. I mean, whatever works for you. For me, like again, I do insurance, so it's not like I don't really have like sales calls in advance. That was back more like when I was selling websites. And I don't really, I mean, like obviously my first couple times doing it, I was shitting bricks, but eventually I got used to it. But even now, like for some reason I hate having to call people back. Like when they call me, it's fine. I don't really have any anxiety. When I'm reaching out the first time on a cold call, that doesn't bother me. But when I have to follow up, I mean, right now, I mean, these days I do it so much it doesn't bother me as much, but I really hate that. So for me, they're usually I definitely don't feel relaxed going into it. So that's I guess one difference between Cole and me as salesmen.
on these calls, I have absolutely no agenda besides how can I help this guy. There's a little there's a little saying in the sales industry called commission breath. And the thing is, prospects, they can sense when you have this. So what commission breath is that you're hungry to make money. Like you're hungry for commission, and that's all you care about when you're on the phone with these people.
Yeah, and I've worked with people like that. I mean they're annoying, but I don't see them as selling any worse than the other people are. Now, again, that could just be because, again, I'm in insurance where, like, whether you sell or not is, like, so heavily dependent on the quote you come back with. Like, if you come back with something that's, like, a really good rate and is saving them money, then people are going to be receptive to buying, no matter how much quote unquote commission breath you have. I think it would be more of a problem in, like, Kohl's type of sales, or like cars, any type of high ticket thing. So it's a different kind of sales, which, I mean, Cole mentions in an earlier video, that's really more what he's focusing on. So his advice is more talking about high ticket stuff, which I have done. I've done, but that was in, when I say high ticket, I was doing more like like either like $5,000, $4.5 grand website, or I was selling, a mortgage refinance, which was actually saving people money. So, different type of thing. But yeah. Anyway, what was he? What was he saying? He was saying something. Oh yeah, you don't want to come off like you have commission. Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's an advantage, especially in the high ticket thing. But I mean, that's kind of the stereotype of salespeople, is that they all come off that way, and I don't think it's as big a deal as people say. I mean, again, especially when you're not in high ticket stuff. If people like the product, I mean, I really believe that, that's the most important part of sales, is, putting the right product in front of the right person. I'm not saying all that other sales training doesn't make a difference. I know it does. I know that there's people out there who are, more successful than others selling the same product to the same people. But I think it starts with the right product and the right person.
But the thing is, people are very intuitive, and they can sense that. So the reason that I've been so successful in sales is because I have gained the ability to completely separate myself from the outcome of these calls. Whether I close a deal or not is not like a priority for me. Like, it's not something that I work.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hear about this outcome independence all the time, and, people have been talking about it forever. I mean, it's been in sales forever, and if you guys remember the PUA stuff of the late aughts, or maybe even the mid aughts, this was something that they were always big on, was, outcome independence. And I think it's overrated, because, like, I have, like, total outcome independence. Like I seriously do not care at all if people buy or not. The only thing I want is for the call to end. That's all I want. And I fucking suck at sales. So I mean, I'm not the worst. Like, I'm not the worst, but maybe suck is probably the wrong way to say it. But I'm pretty average. I'm a pretty average sales guy, despite having way more outcome independence than I think most people do. Um, I just, like, for me, like I would never, like a lot of times, like, people say, like, oh no, I think it's not enough for me to switch, and I'm just like, oh yeah, $100 a year, I wouldn't switch for that either, because I mean, I just feel like if it's not right for them, then I don't. Then if they don't think it's right for them, I don't want them to do it. And and that hasn't helped me get any sales at all. The not that I'm aware of, at least. And again, like I said, I've worked with people who, like, have commission breath and are so outcome dependent, and it doesn't seem to hurt them.
Worry about when I'm talking to these guys. So, and the thing is, like, this translates into dating as well. Like, the guys that want sex the most are the guys that get sex the least.
Well, that's, like, I mean, a horrible correlation causation thing there. The guys who want it the most because they can't get it. The guys who want it the least, overwhelmingly, they don't have as much of it. They don't, like. That's like, I mean, like for instance, I don't want food as badly as some starving person in Africa. Why? Because for me, food is plentiful. So, I mean, of course, I don't want it as bad as someone who's starving, and that doesn't mean that the person who's starving needs to stop wanting food, and then the food will be plentiful for them. It's just ridiculous. Um, and this is part of the problem with being like, in a lot of ways. I mean, I think Casey's the better looking of the two, but Cole is more of the natural Chad, because I like, again, I don't think Cole. I think Cole's kind of a pretty like plain looking guy, but Casey was saying that Cole's the one who gets approached by girls. Like Casey apparently doesn't get approached by girls because he's only 5'10", and maybe he just gives off douche vibes that are too strong. But Cole gets approached a lot, apparently, at least according to Casey. And I don't think Casey would lie about that. And I don't think Cole would lie about it either. And Cole was kind of saying that that was true. And so I mean, he really is like a true Chad type, in the sense that, like, that's how you know if you're like a Chad. A Chad means women approach you. you know. So I mean, if you're anything else, you're not. You may be a Chad light, but you're not a Chad. Um, but being a Chad, you don't really understand. Like, a lot of times, Chads just can't understand what it's like for non-Chads, let alone for incel tier guys. So I think that's like where, I think Cole's heart is in the right place, but it's he just doesn't get it. Hence what he said.
The guys that want a relationship the most are the guys that never have a relationship. Or they're the guys who end up in like a little fling of a relationship for 6 months and then they get dumped or cheated on. The thing is, I have absolutely no agenda behind my calls. I go in with a clear mind. There's literally nothing going on in my brain. I'm not worried about, am I going to have a good discovery? What if I clam up and don't know what to say next? What if I don't know what kind of questions to ask this guy? Does this sound familiar? Those of you that have come from...
Yeah, that's how I approach all my calls. I never really thought about it, because it's like, to me, like, um I mean, I guess there's two modes of thought, like, what, two lines of thought. I don't know. Like, one would be like really plan and detailed, rehearse it in your mind, go over stuff like that. And then there's the other, which is don't really think about it, just wing it. Go in with maybe like a vague idea or a general idea and wing it. And I just wing it because that's just what feels natural to me. And so I go in with no real expectations. Go in, and that's just what works for me. I wouldn't suggest it for it, and it's not like it even works that well. But I don't try to do it any other way, because my belief is that anything you try to do in life, you should try to work and do it in the way that is most natural for you, and that plays the best to your strengths and weaknesses. And not saying that there aren't times where, like, you shouldn't just try to overcome bad instincts and develop more productive habits, but I think you're better in general, working what you have, working to your strengths and around your weaknesses, as opposed to like trying to like just say, oh, I'm gonna try to sell this way. The only way you can sell, like the only way that I can sell is like ball face 80/20. So nobody should try to sell like me, and I certainly shouldn't try to sell like Cole. But you can apply that to anything you do. Again, it's always worth, looking at what you've done and trying to learn from what you've done and learning from other people's examples. But ultimately, the way you apply anything is going to be at least somewhat unique. So, work around with what you have. So Cole's saying he goes in with no expectations, nothing like that, and that's fine. I'm the same way. I think that's a good way to do it. But there's another way to do it too, which is to go in really detail oriented and stuff like that. So I don't know, do what works best for you.
From Casey's channel, who were probably, struggling with dating, have probably had these own questions run through your own head when you want to approach a woman. Well, what am I going to...
Well, maybe don't approach. Maybe don't approach. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, look, if it's working for you, go out and do it. But I'm sorry. I think that cold approach is really fucking weird. And I know that, we've had this, friendly disagreement with a new poster. I don't know if he's still around. But he was saying, like, no, 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 cold approach is good as long as, she's given some indicator of interest. And it's like, I mean, look, look, again, I can't criticize something that's worked for other people, that's working for other people. But he was even saying, I'm Chad, so maybe that, like, if maybe it's different for them. But like me, I can't imagine. I don't care if I looked like a 23-year-old Tom Brady. I can't imagine myself ever being okay with cold approach, because what the hell would I say? You'd be out of stuff to say in the first like 5 seconds, right? Right? The I don't get it. I don't get it. And that's the kind of cold calling that I've had the hardest time with. Is like, when I do calls now, it's always like, hey, we quoted you in the past. We'd love another chance to bring you on board over here. Are you still at? So I'm able to go right into the thing, like right into whatever spiel it is, and get right into the quoting process. But like where I've had like trouble, the kind of cold calls that I still find very difficult are when I'm calling up and saying something like totally cold. We've like I don't have any information about them, and I'm just saying, like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get their boss on the phone. I'm probably not. I'm going to have to get through a gatekeeper first, and then I'll be like, hey, I'm with XYZ website. Wanted to reach out, see where you guys were with your website today. That to me is, even now, is still super awkward, because it's like, because I mean, it's awkward because it's awkward. You're just randomly approaching somebody, and that's the thing. Like, so why would you? And it's one thing if you have to do it for a living, but why would you want to go to do that with a girl? Like, with a girl, you would have even less, because like, the thing is with sales, at least, the idea is you're doing that, seeing is there any interest, are they going to talk? Usually aren't. Usually aren't going to have any interest. They're usually not going to talk, whatever. But with a girl, I mean, let's say she is down. What are you going to talk about? Like, I mean, in sales, like, I know, like, if they're interested, great, I can talk about the website. I can talk about like the website or whatever. But if a girl, like, what are you going to open the question with? What are you going to open with? What are you going to talk about then? Because I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, like, I'm pretty good at conversation. Like, I can talk forever. But you got to give me, but not like going in cold with a random person. Um, especially girls who usually don't have much to say. So, like, I don't get it, but whatever. I mean, again, if it's working for you, go ahead and do it. And I know it works for some people.
I'm going to talk to her about? What am I going to say? Is she going to like me? Am I going to be charismatic? Is it going to be flirtatious?
Well, it's the same type of thing. The thing is, I mean, like, I can tell you, I mean, look, no hate. I like Cole a lot, and I think he's a good. I mean, I've never heard him sell, but I bet he really is a good salesman. And this is, remember how I was saying, like, I think I could outsell Casey, and I still do in a certain environment. I don't think I could outsell Cole. Definitely not with what he's selling, and but really, I think in a lot of stuff, like even a non-snake oil thing, I think he'd beat me pretty bad. But having said all that, like, part of that is because charisma doesn't matter, and because like he's saying, am I going to be charismatic? Well, I can tell you, no, you're not, because you don't have any charisma. No hate. I mean, it's like, again, he's got 10 billion times the female attention that I've ever gotten with, and I've got 10 billion times the charisma that he does, because I'll be the first to tell you that charisma matters, but doesn't matter nearly as much as looks, particularly height and the strong frame. And then, yeah, maybe he is kind of plain looking, but he's also very masculine looking. So you put that plus the height plus the frame, you've got a winner. You don't need the charisma. Just like if you've got a good enough product in sales, you don't really need to say that much. It kind of sells itself.
Is it going to be a good interaction? And the thing is, the second that you the second that you think those kind of things, and the second that you are dependent on the outcome of that conversation with a woman, that one specific sales call that you get on, the one specific workout that you do in the gym, that is when you will lose 10 times out of 10.
Okay. First of all, I think he's exaggerating with the 10 times out of 10. I think I also think he's conflating two different things. One is just this idea, like we mentioned workouts, is the idea of just trying too hard. And I do think that's a real problem that people have. We live in a culture where working hard is really promoted. And I'm not against working hard per se, but the problem is that the most natural human action, and this is something that's encouraged by society, when there's something you want that you're going after and you're not succeeding, is to simply work harder. And it's not just diminishing returns, it has negative returns. Working hard can be good. Working too hard is always bad. So that's a separate thing. But you can apply that also to what he's saying about sales. Obviously, in any sales thing, you want to get the sale or you wouldn't be doing it. But you don't want to press too hard, and you don't want to stress about it. And so I do think that is important. But the other thing is, though, the other thing about that is it's one thing for him to go and give that advice, and that would be like, and I would tell you similar things to other people, but like if somebody had given that advice to me when I was starting out at sales, pretty much any of the stuff that I've learned about sales has really helped. Most of the things that I know now, if I had given myself to as advice when I was starting with sales, I wouldn't have been able to apply it. Like this whole outcome independence and learning to take rejection and stuff like that. Those are things that, look, maybe you have them naturally, but you're probably not going to get them from somebody just telling you not to worry about it. Those people who are telling you not to stress about that stuff, either A, they naturally didn't stress about it, or B, they've done it so many times that they lost their stress and developed an outcome independence. So, what I would tell somebody starting up is I would say, put all the ideas of your mind out of your mind that you have to not take rejection personally, or you have to not be scared to cold call, or that you have to, not get, nervous and flustered on your calls. And so all that stuff, all those problems you have, forget about, fixing that mindset. Just put fixing that mindset out of your mind. Just accept that you have them and just say, go out, know that you have these problems, and just keep calling, keep talking to people until those things just go away by themselves. Because they will. It's like a good comparison, actually, and I'm not recommending this, but let's say I teach you, I wanted to teach you how to not be afraid of stuff anymore. Okay. And maybe you're like a fearful or cowardly person or whatever. I could say a bunch of philosophical stuff to you and recommend meditation and shit like that. And, and maybe some of the stuff would get through. I don't know. And you could sat and thought about it and meditate, and maybe it would get through. But the fastest way to get you there would just be to take you into some dark room and torture you for a few months. And after that, and you might think, well, how is that going to make me lose my fear? It's because it's going to, assuming it doesn't just make you go insane. Again, I'm not recommending this. It's going to essentially wear off. Everything's going to wear off. Like the mind can only take so much. You put enough pain on the mind and it will just kind of give up, and when it releases, all of a sudden the stuff doesn't really bother you anymore, and you're able to function with it better. So that would be my advice in sales and anything. And if let's say approaching girls is something you want to do, I think it's a mistake. My advice for everything is just do it. Don't try to make yourself not afraid or improve your mindset or any of that shit. You don't have to worry about it. Just go out and do it, and it'll develop by itself.
And honestly, I think being able to separate yourself from the outcome is what's going to separate you from the majority of people. If you're in sales,
No, I really don't think so. I really don't think so. I mean, again, I'm very outcome independent and not much of a salesperson. I don't think that that is something that's going to separate you. I really don't. I think it's helpful. I think it can make you, like, that alone can make you better, but it's not going to take, and I think he maybe even used it, it's not going to take your 25% close rate to 50, just that outcome independence.
it's what's going to separate you from a 25% closer to a 40% closer versus a
Okay, so he said it. I disagree. I just disagree. I don't think that's true. I think that's wrong.
40 to a 50% closer, or whatever the case. Having absolutely no agenda is what will ultimately bring success in literally any aspect of your life. So I know this video was short and sweet, but that's
Well, I mean, I think he really exaggerated at the end, and again, that comes from Chadicity. Saying this is a guy who, like Casey, did a lot of self improvement, whereas Casey's problem was being scrawny. His problem was being fat, but same type of thing. This guy was short, he was fat, he lost all the weight, hit a huge growth spurt, and thinks that it's the hard work that did it. He just doesn't understand that that's that he didn't just, I mean, look, again, credit to him for the hard work, really impressive stuff, but I mean, ultimately you have to, in terms of looks and stuff, he won the genetic lottery, whether his face does it for you or not. So all right, those are my thoughts. I guess you heard it from two different people on two different perspectives. You got the Cole Zander view of sales and the Ballface 80/20 view of sales. And if we're just going to say, well, who's more successful, then yeah, it's Cole Zander. And if we're going to say who's the better salesman, again, I think you're going to have to say Cole. I don't think, I think he could sell insurance as well as I could, but I don't think I could sell MBT as well as he did, even if I believed in Casey's program as much as he believes in it. I still don't think I could sell it as well as him. He said he closes 50%. I think I'd close 35% at most. But a lot of that is about stuff that's less sales techniques and more the physical appearance and voice, which I think is really important for this type of sales. Don't tell me that shit doesn't matter. It's not the be all and end all, but you have to go, like, different voices, different phenotypes are right for different clients and different sales. That's just a fact. So that's all for now. See you in the next.
going to do it for me.
Oops. That's all for now. I'll see you in the next.